All right, call to order this meeting of the Nettle Creek School Board. So all board members present with the exception of Mrs. Lamar and Mrs. Bloss. Are we in compliance with you? And for the Pledge of Allegiance, a moment of silence. Pledge of Allegiance
to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which stands one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you. Okay, we have approval of and/or correction of the regular board meeting minutes from June 11th, 2025. We have work session minutes from June 12th, 2025, and special board meeting minutes on June 19th, 2025. Do I have a motion?
So moved.
Sandy?
Second.
Corrections or discussion on those?
Just a quick reminder on proofreading. There's some misspelling, materially incorrect, but there's some spelling.
Thank you.
Anything else? If not, all those in favor of accepting the minutes, say aye.
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 Those same way. 5-0. We do this public comment as well.
Mhm.
At this time, we'll open it up for public comment. If there is anyone that wishes to address the board. Not, we'll move to financial items presented for board consideration and action. First, we'll have the public hearing for additional appropriation on GO bond proceeds. We'll open that hearing at this time. Mrs. Schaefer, do we have proof of publication of that?
Yes.
If I could, please have a motion to accept the proofs of publication, make them part of the official record for the meeting.
So moved.
Sandy, do I have a second?
Second.
Marcy? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? 5-0. This time I'll turn it over to Mr. Cross.
My name is Ron Cross. I'm an attorney with the firm of Boston Beaver, Forrest, Cross, and Sickman. I've been privileged for several years to represent this small corporation locally, and I'm proud of that representation. Before getting into a discussion, what I think you know, perhaps the public that watched, not talking about what an appropriation process really entails. As it relates to the projects we're looking at funding with GO bonds, I would ask the superintendent if she might briefly summarize the components of those projects.
Yep. So majority of this bond proceeds will cover student and staff technology refresh. So our student and staff current devices are 1 year past the warranty. And so we are looking at refreshing those so that we can stay current and up to date, but also that they are accessible and ready to use for students and staff. So technology refresh, our K to 3 will be sticking, K to 2 will be sticking with K to 1. I'll get it right in a minute. I'm glad my technology director is here this evening. K to 1 will be sticking with iPads. Grades 2 through 12 are moving to Chromebooks. And that was after an evaluation that asked for staff and student feedback. It was proposed that we move to Chromebooks for grades 2 through 12.
MacBooks for staff.
Yes, thank you. And MacBooks for staff members.
I might briefly then just go through what the appropriation process entails. And again, I apologize for telling something for a long time, but for everyone else, Appropriation is the process by which a public body such as this board gets permission to spend taxpayer funds. It happens in can happen in several ways. Probably the most common is through your actual budget development process, where you end up with an approved budget that once you sign, basically an appropriation of those budgeted funds. Then goes to the Department of Local Government Finance, the DLGF, and they review and ensure that your budget process is pretty quickly done. However, as you also know, during the year, there will be times when unexpected revenues come your way, and you have need for those, as is somewhat, as was the case in my experience, unanticipated needs result. That requires perhaps a transfer of funds, but sometimes it requires use of funds that have not been budgeted, and therefore there has not been an appropriation. So at that point, you have an additional appropriation similar to what we do tonight. And that involves putting in a publishing notice, allowing the public to come and comment on the proposed additional spending. So what we're talking about tonight is a need to appropriate the funds that are anticipated to be created when we close on the 2025 general obligation bonds that have been advertised to be appropriated, the proceeds of which be appropriated tonight. Unlike other expenditures, this is one that's not had good DLGF or post application or approval. So with that general comment, I would expect
Thank you, Mr. Cross. Any questions for Mr. Cross before we move on? Okay, then at this time, we will open the floor for public comment. If there are any, I show no one signed up, but is there anyone that does wish to address the board on this topic? If not, I will take a motion to close the public comment portion of this hearing.
So moved.
Mercy, second. Cody. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? 5-0. So now I'll take a motion for the recommendation and approval of that 2025 GEO bond additional appropriation resolution as presented. I have a motion. Sandy? Second. Any discussion? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? 5-0. And finally, I'll take recommendation and approval of the final bond resolution for the GEO bond.
point,
Motion.
pressure memory, we back in June 11th, I believe, this board met and you passed a preliminary bond resolution that accomplished part of the process of the bonding authority. And in it, you had certain projections and assumptions that were made. Tonight, we are taking that to the next step, and we're actually adopting the final bonds resolution, which has quite a bit of additional stuff. I think it's if you look at it, that does several things, as did the initial preliminary resolution, which could have been modified. This set a cap on the amount of bonds that would be issued of $995,000. After that preliminary resolution, you could have acted to lower that, you could not have acted to increase it. It also sets a maximum interest rate, which we hope is well in excess of that which will be negotiated, because this probably be a negotiated sale of bonds. But that maximum interest rate is 6% per annum. Resolution provides the manner in which bonds are registered, the way they're logged, the way the bank, U.S. bank in this case, trust, acts as the paying agent for bonds. Corporation to corporation's debt service, and then it proceeds to collect. We pay those monies to the bank. They in turn pay them to the bondholders. The actual form of the bond is part of the resolution. Financial matters, corporations set forth therein. For instance, your current debt service rate is $0.3736, $100 of assessed valuation. The financial pro forma that were presented earlier, much earlier in this process by Baker Tilly, who is your municipal advisor, such that your peers are going to be able to fund the new bonds without having to increase that debt service rate first year. The levy should be sufficient, and then we would expect that outstanding bonds and debt obligations that we have in place as they roll off will basically not having to get. That is very, very good. It's very positive. Our other potential plans for additional bonding in the future that I'm going to discuss, those really aren't in the forefront tonight, and they are just matters that you need to keep back in your mind as to possible physical issues that could arise from those. These are relatively uncertain times. You find yourselves with Senate Bill 1 and the budget bill doing things that most of us did never expect to happen. One point I would make, although I think it's more academic than practical, but the resolution could make a promise that you will not issue any additional tax exempt debt in 2025 in excess of $10 million. So I think I can confidently say that do that. This is just a provision under the Internal Revenue Code, section 275 that allows us to be considered a small issue, bank qualified. That results in financial tax advantages to banks and financial institutions that might acquire an interest in the bonds. And then finally, throughout the final bond resolution, you basically create a promise with the bondholders that you will do anything that awfully that takes to maintain the tax exempt status of the bonds, and you will not do anything to forfeit that tax exempt status. So, the final bond resolution is over 13 pages in length, and I think I probably, if you have insomnia, that would be a starting point. Beyond that, unless there are questions.
Mr. Cross. Any questions for Mr. Cross? If not, then we will again turn it over for public comment on this topic if there's anyone that wishes to address the board. And if there are none, I take a motion to accept the recommendation and approval of the final bond resolution as presented by Mr. Cross and included in your board packet.
So moved.
Andy?
Second.
See, any discussion? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? 5-0. Thanks, Mr. Cross.
That's really all we have for tonight is next steps, if you will. And I really probably will have to touch base with Baker Tilly and see if in fact the Indiana Bond Bank is going to be the purchaser of these bonds, whether they will require that there be a rating call, rating of the bonds. That's a little bit of my pay grade, but I'm sure Baker Tilly feels against. If that is the case, then that'll happen. That basically involves 2 phone calls, one to a Standard & Poor's rating agency, and they have a list of questions that relate to the financial circumstances and practices of the school corporation. It sounds intimidating, but usually it's basically good. You know what to expect, and Baker Tilly will have the administration well prepared for that. I tried to follow the advice of a very wise law professor I had. Even if I sit in on that call, I was told in law school, don't break the silence unless you're sure you're good. So it's not a place for the lawyers to get involved. It's really to show and present, as you had, very competent administration that knows what it's doing and it's financially, fiscally responsible. This process. We are looking toward a sale of the bonds that would lock in our interest rate around August 26th, with potential closing, receipt of funds in mid-September, September 16th. So those dates are somewhat tentative, but they are present operating. So with that, that's all.
Thank you.
Back to my iPad. All right, we'll move to item D, consideration and approval of claims payroll and ECAs. We have,
Hang on, Brayden, can you freeze my screen?